Titi's got it. So our next performer, I'm very ashamed to be reading a bio, so I'm not only the important parts, and by important parts I mean awards and stuff. Because I know Titi, I can talk for Titi. But, so some things about Titi is she is the recipient of the Canadian Authors Association Emerging Writer Award, and in 2015, the Open Society Foundation resident for poet of Gorée Island, did I say that right? Off the coast of Senegal. Not only that, Titilope Sanuga was the first poet. I could be wrong, but she did open up for the inauguration of the president of Nigeria, and she performed. And if y'all know how the population is in Nigeria, performing for the president inauguration is like performing to 175 million people. Like, no joke. But the people are watching the presidential inauguration, so it's a very important thing. And not only that, if it wasn't Titi, I wouldn't be here today. I know that sounds weird. When I arrived to Edmonton, I was kind of feeling depressed because I didn't have an artistic avenue. My wife, girlfriend at the time, said, hey, how about you check out the poetry festival? I did. It was alright, it was cool, but I met Titilope Sanuga. She's like, oh, that was kind of whack, but I think we could do better, so come through the smoking spot. To the poetry spot, I'm like, see, I love that, because she's saying you could do better, and it wasn't like, that was great, but you want to come? She's like, no, that was whack. You could do better, come through. And I'm like, I like that. I like that. I love that constructive criticism. And so Titilope Sanuga is the founder of the Breath in Poetry Collective. And before she decided to be a superstar and just leave and find better life, she said, hey, Ahmed, please can you hold on and take care of this? I said, Titi, with honor. And so throughout this time, the community, wherever you see in the spoken word community in Edmonton, whoever has won internationally, honestly started from the ground up and from the roots, and Titilope has been the roots in our community. I might have been supporting along the way, but this is Titi's foundation and what she's wanting to do in our community, because she understands the value of not only oral tradition, but to empower those who do have oral tradition to become literary folks. As Titilope is published multiple times, she was part of the She Connects from Intel in Nigeria. She's worked with Google. Titi has done so much that sometimes I'm embarrassed to be her friend because I'm not good enough. But she still makes me feel like I am in her family, treats me like family, so I'm like, it's alright, then don't worry about it. Please, help me with a nice round of applause. Welcome, Titilope Sanuga.
What a staggering love that plunges into the darkness with me. What blinding grace trades me beauty for my ashes, gathers from my hands the daggers of my shortcomings, gives me balm for every bruise. My weakness falls off like an old cloak, and I am walking, even when shadows fall. I am standing in the light of the everlasting, and each step appears before me just in time. I make a victory dance of my stumbling blocks. I'm reaching for my waymaker. I'm holding on to his hand, and wherever I am called, I will go. Wherever I go, I multiply, so I am walking. And there is no hiding from this grace. There is no stumbling in this grace, so I will keep walking. Good evening, everybody. First of all, I want to say, I feel like I have been set up in so many different ways. It is an honor and a privilege to be here to share my stories on any stage, but particularly a stage in Edmonton where it feels like for me it all began. I do not take this community for granted, and I feel just so blessed to still be doing this work and for people to still care enough to listen. It's always supremely difficult to go after Ian Kedeku because he's just an incredible performer and a poet and so funny in ways that I could never be. I don't have one singular funny bone in my body, so I'm just like, so Ian going first means that I have to, you have to compensate in the other ways, and just do your best, when you're motivated, just try it, just do your best. Ian has gone already, it's fine. So I want to say thank you to Ahmed and Bert, who I consider to be brothers to me, actually. Ahmed likes to talk a lot about how I built the Breath and Poetry Collective and all that, but none of that would have been possible without the two of them. The collective was just an idea in my head, but it came to life because they gave up time with their families, their children, anything just to keep this collective going. And I want to say, and I will always say thank you to you both for those sacrifices and for inviting me and honoring me yet again tonight by allowing me on this platform that you have built. So thank you. Thank you so much to Africanval. I think this is such a beautiful thing to rep our culture. My symbol is using Sankofa, and I'm going to all the Ghanaians who've been making fun of Nigerian jollof are going to make fun of me. My very crude translation, and what I believe it to mean, is this perpetual act of going back to retrieve, which for me is central to the way in which I move through the world and my desire to never forget where I am from, who I am being, who the women before me have been, and who I am called to be going forward. And so I'm forever reaching back. And it is with that same idea that I left my engineering career here in Edmonton and moved back home to Nigeria, because I felt like in the arts I had a calling, but also at home I had a calling. And at the time I had no idea what I was doing or why. It just felt urgent in a way that I couldn't explain, so I left. My family supported me, even though they thought I was insane. And we're ready, they're just ready to just, you go for a few months, come back, and they say, oh, they're there, let's call your old boss, he'll give you your job back. So I gave myself 6 months. I honestly also believe that might happen, but also did not. And it's been 6 years, I just realized that it doesn't feel that way. Every time someone, I say a couple years ago, but a couple is 2. It's been 6. So I'm going to be sharing some poems this evening. This is probably the most you'll hear me talk other than poems. And all these poems appear in a new collection that I have just written and released through Right Bloody North. It's called This Is How We Disappear. And the origin of this collection is from my time in Nigeria when I had left here and gone back. I moved back roughly in the middle of 2013, 2014. In April of 2014, a group of girls were kidnapped from their boarding school in a town called Chibok in northern Nigeria. And I have to admit, before that happened, even I didn't know where Chibok was. A lot of the world had no idea where it was, but suddenly they were put on the map because almost 300 girls disappeared. And it took a very long time for people to respond to that disappearance. And so I started writing poems, just grappling with these ideas. And as artists do when we don't know what else to do, we just create art and hope that it means or matters. Even though a lot of it often feels like, in those moments, it feels very useless. It's like you're writing poems, girls are in a forest and missing, But I feel like art is the way in which we reflect our times, and so if my voice matters for something, at least it'll be an archive for the things that happened while we were here. So This Is How We Disappear is about that very physical disappearance, my negotiations with that. But also, I started to think outwards about the many ways that women disappear in the world that aren't physical, that we barely see, and the ways in which the world turns away from them. But also disappearance as acts of survival, the many ways that we evolve, become something else, we just become a more fierce thing. Needless to say, I love women, I think they are amazing people. So a lot of the poetry you'll be hearing tonight is centered around these ideas and my perpetual love for the ways that we transform ourselves. Are we good? Am I missing anything that I should have said, Ian?
Oh, please. We are ready. And we are ready.
Your baby's first word is no. Her aunties marvel at her command of the word. They laugh at how she cradles it in her chubby cheeks before letting it fall from her toothless mouth. Only you know. The months of meditation on your hands and knees, hours spent meditating at the altar of your daughter's clueless face. Only you know. The soft work of pulling the word gently from her mouth, a tiny weapon. The first of many to keep the girl alive. By what name do we call the girl when she comes back? Is it cruel now to call her precious, to call her patience, to call her joy? Do we sing a praise song or a dirge when the girl comes back with her mouth sewn shut and her eyes sunken in? Do we welcome her home when there is none, and forget how savage the privilege of weeping before the ones whose tears have dried up? When the girl comes back, whose arms does she run into? Who will call her daughter and call her daughter daughter too? Whose milk has not yet curdled? Who will nurse this broken woman back to girl and back to whole again? The girl's mouth pools with blood from her razor tongue. In the market with her hands held high, she becomes a wall, savors the anger like fruit she stole when no one was looking, tells her sins to God, no one is listening. In the market with her hands held high, she becomes a wall, becomes a fire no one can touch, tells her sins to God, no one is listening, she is alone here. Becomes a fire no one can touch, savors the anger like fruit she stole when no one was looking, she is alone here. The woman's mouth pools with blood from her razor tongue, and at the mosque in Mobile, no one could say which one of them held the baby or the bomb. Each one cradled a heavy head, held its body across her chest beneath a billowing cloth. Both walked with the grace only mothering teaches, moving without disturbing a sleeping thing. And when we were putting the pieces back together, trying to bury what we could not name, there was no one left, not even a child to tell us which mother they heard ticking or clucking before they knelt. They could not bend the bones back from broken to know whose forehead touched the ground last, or gather the breath back into their mouths, even into a mumble to say whose prayer was answered first, whose daughter finally went home. As much as I wish to, the president said, I cannot promise that we can find them. They converted to Islam, married off to the fighters, Abu Bakr Shekau said. They were taken across the border into Cameroon, witnesses said. A negotiator told us at least 3 died in the early days from snakebite, malaria, and dysentery. I am outraged and heartbroken, Michelle Obama posted herself with a picture holding a sign. Please know this, Malala Yousafzai wrote, we will never forget you. Years passed without a whisper from the girls. My father's gun in the upstairs closet will shoot its first and only shot when I am 10. And the armed robbers come rattling the gates like rabid dogs. My 3 sisters and I huddled in our nightgowns on the bedroom floor. We have to leave this country, he whispered to my mother, his finger trembling on the trigger. That night, my father will almost kill a man to protect our childhood. He will never say the words, I love you, but in the chamber of his heart is one loaded bullet. Midnight at the water's edge, Blessing and 3,000 refugees wade in, silent, barefoot, they fall into the sea. Soon, most will wash back ashore with no name to call but the numbers scribbled on their clothes for weeks. The smugglers' telephones on the other side, silent. No one to answer for the girls with skin like rich palm oil bloodying the water. They built fences in Morocco. Paid the nations on the coastline to keep the teeming bodies back. Tomorrow, Europe might not be European, Gaddafi said. We'll use the human beings as weapons, cram the black bodies into fishing trawlers, launch them from Libya into the sea. The ungovernable, the slaves, the concubines, and the prostitutes, burn it to the ground. Swift-flowing river snakes its way through the heart of Edmonton to lay still in the winter of our arrival. Our hands turn white, the air like shards of glass to our faces that night. Our family shares a pizza in our basement apartment. Then we fall asleep, 3 on the bed, 3 on the floor, our bellies bloat with hope. We tread water for 20 winters between our yesterdays and the tomorrow we were promised. Everything here is borrowed or stolen. The language, the land, my own body far flung. I lose my old English, my tongue twice colonized. All the women I know are running toward or away, and everything I know of disappearance begins with water, the girls, their thirsty mouths open skyward, rainwater muddying the forest floor, the 6-month ocean crossing that pulls the salt from our skin, the dam breaking inside my mother, the first blood sacrifice that pulled me from one world into the next. This began inside a woman, sliced down the middle so another woman could emerge whole. All I know of magic making and survival I learned at birth. I want to defend my country. Which one? I mythologize my grandmother. I write stories about warrior women with thunder between their thighs. Then the girls disappear, and no one goes looking. I ask my mother the Yoruba word for shame. Do you know they only drank water when it rained? What kind of country does nothing when 200 girls disappear? 1,000 indigenous women stop in their tracks to crane their necks back in unison. Tears flood the highways till even the rivers overflow. The girls had disappeared for 3 weeks before we even knew their names. Then we spoke them, 276 in Chibok, but thousands more missing and murdered across the country answered. It is customary to wait 7 days to name a child. Touch her lips with water and palm oil, honey and salt, cola. Give her a taste of the bitter and the sweet, the joy and the pain. Pray for her, a spirit with the resilience of water. All of this just to say, stay. When we were just little girls, my older sister almost drowned in my uncle's swimming pool. We hadn't yet learned to fear water, how it can reach its claws around your neck and turn your own body against you. My father signed us up for swimming lessons to teach us to move into the thick of fear and find our way through it. On the first day, the instructor picked me up and threw me into the deep end without warning. With nothing but a rubber tube around my waist, I found a depth to my voice I hadn't known existed. A red scream that stretched across the length of the pool, reaching for no one. And every time I crawled out gasping, heart hammering against my frail chest, you would pick me up and throw me back in again and again for an hour straight. By the end of the summer, I had learned to swim. My father never heard about the cruel instructor, and I emerged, a brand new girl who knew how her body could be both anchor and life jacket. Loving you was a kind of drowning. I was always reaching for something I could never hold. Everything I tried to write was stifled breath, a mouth filled with water. Leaving you was the kind of chaos that comes with teaching your body a new trick, repeating it aggressively again and again until either by fatigue or fate you surrender. You gather just enough momentum and you just move. It is the summer of my new body. I am kissing a boy whose hands make my blood bloom beneath the skin. He is gentle. So I am not afraid when he plucks me up like something ripe and ready. It is the season of discovery. And we have spent many days like this lying in a field of our wanting. We kiss until our lips croon. We map the landscape of skin with open palms. But there are borders we promise not to cross. Imaginary lines we have drawn in our heads in class. My physics professor is speaking past my empty seat. She is teaching something about gravity that I already have learned from falling into the well of this boy's eyes. I should be there, learning about force, the power of inertia, the tricky dynamics of two bodies when one is bigger and stronger and faster, but I am lying in a bed with a boy I love. Except now my hands are pressed against the wall of his chest. I forget to say no with my mouth. I am busy, trying to squeeze shut the useless gates of my legs like my mother told me to in the first place. He is giggling in my ear now. He already knows the punchline to this joke that I will never tell. Years later, I'm bent over the tub washing my hair when fingernails scratch the memory from my head. The down reaches. Everything surges through the scar until there is water everywhere. I'm drowning in it. Finally, I speak his name, and the wound breathes shut. You loved a ghost so hard, it swallowed your heart. Bloodied your hands to polish its face till it shone back a mirror reflection. No one ever taught you about the alchemy of your love, how its magic animates the bones of even the most fossilized. You loved a shadow into being, taught it how to move, how to speak, how to be human-like. In the end, what you miss is your own love echoed into you. You don't miss them. What you miss is yourself. And this is how you heal the wound. 1, you will cleanse it with salt water. It is the only way to release the poison. What I'm saying is the tears will come. Let them. 2, you will need a healing balm. More love, more love, more love. Be generous in your application. 3, do not cover it until it festers and rots. Speak it and let it go. Let it go. 4, do not ever pick the scab. The woman is not your mother, is not mammy or wet nurse, is not a place to cut your teeth, to milk the marrow from bone, to suckle until sagging. The woman is not your training wheel, is not the leather and lust of your first car. Some boys will be boy stories, something hot you swallow to put hair on your chest. The woman is not your rite of passage. She's not some river you cross to prove yourself, carrying all of your baggage on your head. The woman is not a dumping ground. She is not the junkyard scrap you drag home to fix. She is not an exercise in patience. She is not your project. The woman is not your wet dream or fantasy. She is not your prize, your reward, your masterpiece. The woman is not a name you call upon like a prayer. She is not your savior or salvation. The woman is not penance for the sins of your father. The woman is not your God. The woman is not waiting for permission or validation. She is not ducking down beneath her hurt. She is not afraid of her lonely or alone. She is not afraid of her healing or being healed. The woman is busy, elbow deep in the work of becoming whole and unto herself. She is in conversations with God, trying to understand the blueprint of creation. The woman is working. And if she finds you working too, she might just let you love her. So this is how we disappear. This is how we disappear. We fall backwards into our mother's mouths, become them. Become the only stories we've ever been told, stories about women who stay, women who endure, women who offer their bodies into the belly of the beast to protect their children. This is how we go missing. We tumble into a fist, bones beaten to pulp. We crumble beneath the weight of a man with a hole in his chest, and the vacuum takes us to a place where we are never enough, yet we are too much. Our mouths too big, our bodies too whole, too soft, too much like God, wild things to be tamed. So the wolves come, dragging the screeching bodies of little girls from their childhoods. They find us at work, at school, knees bent at the altar or on the dance floor, whether we are a shy whisper or a loud joy, whether we are hips too small or wide, too small to carry the weight of it. Sometimes they come with a stranger's whisper. Often, they come with names that we know well. We call them brother. We call them friend. We call them on nights when the world feels too big We ask for a shoulder to lean on, get a fist instead. Claws that peel our bodies open like ripe fruit for the taking, and we try to forget what we cannot forgive. We throw away our names, we shapeshift, we code switch, we learn a whole new language for survival, teach it to our daughters too, but this time, we come back for our bodies, we come back for our voices, we gather the broken, gather the split and scattered, everything that still has a pulse. Even what is only a shadow of itself is still worth loving, all that we paid for in our blood, let it come, let it move with only the skin on its back, we do not look back. This time we do not turn to salt, this time we are the ocean. Come to reclaim everything that belongs to us and swallow anything that refuses to be moved. Ask about us. These women who reinvented joy, who snapped back our broken bones to the rhythm of a survival song, a song about the audacity of living and loving anyway. We become a whole new kind of creature, something fearless and fierce, something bold enough to call down even lightning and dare it to touch us. So when the world unravels before you, when even your dreams are crumbling stones, when everything you dare to touch is set on fire and all around you is ash and smoke, remember this: rock bottom is a perfect place for rebuilding. Remember that you are your mother's daughter, your grandmother's answered prayers, a whole bloodline of women who bend in response to raging winds. There is nothing broken here, nothing damaged or discarded. Each scar is a badge of honor, every misstep a victory dance waiting to happen. You are a woman becoming, learning the complicated language of forgiveness, the intricate lessons of the universe. Your heart is just a muscle, and it needs exercise. You were born for this sort of heavy lifting. You were born one part saint, one part warrior woman. Loving yourself without shame is the most important thing you will ever have to fight for, so that centuries from now, when the archaeologists shake the dust from your bones, let them wonder about this thing called courage. When they rearrange each part of you, hold you piece by piece against the light, give them something to marvel at. Let their history books say, here lies a woman who knew that fear is just a growling animal with no teeth. Inside your mother's kitchen is a boiling pot. Inside the pot are all the things she will forget to teach you about becoming. Forgive her. She is a starving woman too. And you are old enough to feed yourself now. So feast. Thank you.
Titi was talking about a setup. For me, I look at poetry like a meal, and this was a full course meal. Ian Kenneth, who with his richness of his wordplay and his storytelling and his humor, then you had Sanuga bringing a lot of that energy to spice up really your tongue, and then you had Titilope, who's going to give you way more than you can eat right now, but you can have leftovers and take home with you. And that's what it is. You can take home with you those leftovers and, you know what I mean, ruminate through them, work through them, because there are times where I'll listen to Titi's poetry and I'm like, oh, that's what it meant? There are lines that go back to her that I didn't understand, where one of them is like in Nigeria where they make money to make money. How you're talking about, what are you talking about? It's just the skill of people and their ingenuity on how to make money and how they struggle. And like, you look into these things, and I've been recently listening to one of her songs as well. But nonetheless, I hope you feel the same way about the night as I did. It really helped me out, especially with what I was going through today, to see all this fantastic art and poetry. So just quickly though, I want to let you know that putting something on like this isn't one, easy and two, cheap. I mean it like that. I've come to understand that privilege for me means access to information and opportunity. If you don't know an opportunity exists, you can't really benefit from it, and then you don't get the experience from that. So now I'm in a privileged position. I'm a full-time artist. I get to make my money off of art, but that's for me, cool, but how do I move that forward? And putting on these type of events where we showcase more diversity instead of talking about it, by being about it, is integral. But that doesn't happen without support from others. No one makes it anywhere by themselves. Everybody needs somebody, and this event, back to back, couldn't have been made possible without Just Machine Inc. and Kim Soles is right there. Dr. Kim Soles in the back. Round of applause and shout out always. I am, like, honestly, I love Kim, and if I haven't told you before, I'll tell you now, I love you, Kim, and I really appreciate what you do for us. Kim is a doctor. He created standards in healthcare. He's also leading in artificial intelligence. He teaches at the U of A, and it's so much that he does. Somehow, he still makes time every Tuesday to come out to the poetry night and record for people. One time I actually got really upset. Somebody messaged us on Facebook and they're like, hey, how come you didn't record me? And I'm like, what? I went insane. I'm like, did you know who this person is you're talking to? I'm like, next time can you ask him kindly, please? I understand, you know what I mean? But I'm just so grateful for you, Kim, and for supporting us, because if it wasn't for you, honestly, this wouldn't happen. And also, shout out to Africa Canada for believing in us and wanting us to be part of this. You could have said no, but you did, and we thank you for that. An event is coming out that is very important, happening on September 14th. It's called Who Am I? A lot of times there is an understanding of what being African means, and this is to rework that, because there are a lot of negative perceptions in our mind where we think we really know who we are and what we are. Not really. So it's important for us to reflect back, get together, and learn. Also, don't forget that the artists who perform tonight do have books that they published. Support them. This funny story, random, talking about economy now. In the diverse communities, there are a lot of liabilities, but not enough assets. And I'm starting to learn things like passive income. That's an asset. When you create something that's of value, especially as beautiful as their poetry, make it support them for the rest of their life, because that means, hey, I believe in what you're doing, I'll support you. Back in the day in Los Angeles, that was Spain, when the Muslims controlled it, people used to actually pay artists their whole salary so they can create. That doesn't happen anymore, which is super weird. So please, this is how you do that by supporting an artist, is buying their merchandise and their books. Because honestly, that's how you support them to create more. And for us as artists, that's our sanity. Literature, poetry, music, comedy, that's what keeps us sane. So in essence, when you support and you buy a book and you come to these shows, you're sponsoring an artist. So good for you. So thank you very much for doing that. Also, just in case I forget, shout out a round of applause for the technicians for doing the work that they do. I appreciate you so much. Sengaya, a round of applause for Sengaya. These artists do have social media that you can check out. Speak with them and find out more about their work. And other than that, thank you so much for coming through. And I really appreciate the fact that you were here. You didn't have to be here. Honestly, you could have been watching Honey Boo Boo, as you said. But you're not. You're here, and you're my Honey Boo Boo, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Oh, stop it. All right. Please help welcome up my partner. Y'all like the setup here? Come on, let me set this in right here. Bert Richard is the man. Okay, this is the individual who put this together. Honestly, I have an understanding of stuff, but Bert has the application of stuff. Bert's that guy that says, "Oh, how come you're not doing your job?" And that's why I keep him around, because he's actually effective at what he does. And honestly, if it wasn't for Bert, a lot of the creativity behind this doesn't happen. And so, round of applause for Bert.
Thanks, everyone. And actually, if I may just speak a little bit about the setup and the decor here. My wife is from Ghana. So my other half of my family is West African, and part of this event is a bit of an ode to them. So I had learned something. We used to run a youth program for the Ghana Association, and one of the things that we did at the end of the program was a talking circle. So all these people are our villagers. You have joined them and us in our talking circle. You have completed the talking circle.
Yes, man.
And the glow sticks are your way of bringing your light to bear. Yeah, a little bit of poetry in the whole decor, right?
I'm telling you.
And then, of course, the Adinkra symbols, which are West African symbols and a form of communication. And to that end, actually...
Before he ends that, your perception of how this event went is integral. We want to grow and be better, and we know as human beings, we're not perfect. We can always do better, and we'd love to learn from you. Maybe you have ways to teach us on how to do things better. We'd love to learn that. Please, I will be emailing those whose emails I do have from the Eventbrite just to ask you what we could do better. Please don't feel worried about my feelings. I'm okay with that. I'm asking you, this isn't unsolicited advice. I'm asking for your criticism, so it'd be important for us to grow and get better.
Yeah, share with us, definitely. Do you have our Instagrams or anything like that? If you enjoyed the night tonight, it would be really cool if you went back and posted about it and shared with others so that they do attend.
I feel bad for not being here.
And yeah, especially that.
Titilope over here. And y'all should have been here, though.
So some of you came in and you put your names in this bucket. Now the door prize is actually the shirts that the villagers are wearing. So we're gonna draw for a shirt, and if your name is picked, just point to a shirt, and if you actually know the symbol, it would be really cool if you said the symbol aloud, and we'll strip it off one of them and throw it over.
We're not gonna judge, there's no grade system here, so don't worry about knowing or not knowing, you're perfectly fine.
Yeah, and if you say it incorrectly, believe me, all morning, my mother-in-law, I've been like, Duena? And she's like, yeah, no, bro, it is and correcting me. So don't worry about making mistakes.
The beautiful thing about art is Sankofa and Umoja, a lot of these things we like to play. You know, you guys heard to play Umoja, the feeling of together. You never heard that?
We grew up with the Flintstones.
I grew up in Toronto where I used to actually watch plays. Watch plays, y'all. Educate yourselves. Okay, sorry.
Alright, so you draw and I'll grab the shirt that they got.
Alright, so the first person that gets a shirt is Janelle George.
Yeah.
Hi, Janelle. You can just pick a shirt and point at it, and then later on it's yours. Yeah. Oh, look at you, huh? Fantastic. Next person coming up to get it or even point at it. We have, I want to say this right. This is spelled. I'm gonna mess this up. The way it's written, I'm gonna. Bro, you want to take the L on this?
Fun show? I think it's just fun show.
It's fun show or fun toast? Fun show. There you go. Fun show. See? I knew I was going to be wrong, and that's why I thank you. Yes, please pick one. Fun show. Thank you, Titi.
Just pick one for you.
All right. Alright. Which one? Fantastic. All right, next person we have is Marika? Is that right? Yeah, so you point at it and you get another person. The last one over there? Fantastic. Donna. Donna? Is that right? Y'all, why y'all handwriting like we're in school still? Is this a test? Like, I'm not gonna pass this. Pardon? Okay. Corona can take the L on that one, so Donna, please use this one.
They're all the same size.
So we have Joyce, who also in Joyce, I know. Hi, Joyce. And you get the shirt. Far on the left. Okay, that one's vouched for. Next one. Second last. Fantastic. Almost looks like Afro Bones. Dio or Deo. Dio. See, in Somali, there are two A's if it's an you know, Dio. Dio. But if you say Dio, means to view in Somali. Dio? Actually, why Dio means I left it alone. So, Dio? Dio. Thank you. Did Dio pick a shirt? Yeah, we did. Fantastic. Oh, both of you, look at you, man. Couple getting shirts going home when you're representing. All right, so we have one more person.
This was the prototype, so it's not the best.
Okay, and then the final shirt here, we have Babette. Did I say that right? beautiful name. But Beth, which shirt would you? Oh, you have no choice. Again, right there, thank you again, Kim Solas, aka Dress Machines. Thank you so much to those who came out. Thank you so much for supporting this, both the event and my pocket, because seriously, it does cost a lot to do this, and honestly, we do it on our whim because we believe in art, and we'll continue to do it regardless if we take an L or not, but we appreciate not taking L's. So thank you for helping us in not taking a full-on L, and I appreciate that tremendously. Another round of applause for Titilope, Sanuga, and and all of you for coming through. Thank you tremendously so much. Is there something you need to say?
Just take the time outside to maybe say hi to each other. Maybe shake someone's hand that you don't know.
Happy Carnival is happening tomorrow and on Sunday as well.
I was going to say that.
Perfect.
And also Afro Carnival is happening tomorrow and Sunday as well. Just on the back side of Grant McEwen, 107th Street and 106th Ave, okay?
All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate you.
Let's give them some walking music.
Walking music.